up until December last year, we were levering to try to get that dealt with. And I dropped a ball there, I would say, because we didn't get to him. Sarah has the contract, and we are in the process of determining what to do with that individual. But moving forward, at this point, I still think the property has value. I've been in it a number of times. I'm not seeing any water damage. I'm not seeing any degradation in that building that has happened between last year and this year. Maybe next year is a different year, and we go about doing a comprehensive evaluation of all of our properties. This one has historic value in a few senses, one of which is that it's related to the Indian massacre, Native American massacre that occurred on the northern end near the township. My understanding is that it was originally owned by the Mickley family, that the people were trying to get to that location, to this house. So as much as I understand the fact that I think because of the last 2 years, Joe, it's been hard to keep up with that. There's no question about where we are with the vegetation being overgrown right now. I expect we'll get that dealt with this year. I'd like to see it done. Honestly, with the amount of work we're doing in other properties, it's been tough keeping up with it. There's no question about that. That's where we are right now. But in the tours that I've taken with people through the house, it's solid. Now, I agree when I look at the area that you're talking about that's been exposed, and I don't know what you called that. I called it brick coating. I don't know what.
Well, it's drive it. It's just a
It's
masonry
drive it?
coating over brick.
Okay.
That's all it is.
There are areas there that show some problems, and I think we need to do an evaluation, and after we get that softening taken care of, maybe we do a more comprehensive evaluation. Maybe we bring our own codes enforcement people out there to
Well, I think it's
get a look at
necessary
it.
now to have it looked at, because
Well,
if we're holding other people accountable, we
it can
should
be
hold
done
ourselves
coincidentally. I agree with you.
There's a lot of mold in there. There's black mold all over the place.
There's one area
No, there's more
No,
than one
there's more than
area.
one area.
above the bathroom. There was a leak
It's
in the bathroom.
loaded with black
Mr.
mold.
Warren,
when
I
you
don't
start
know
looking
when the
around.
last time you were in there was, but
It's
About
loaded.
a month and a half ago, during a rainstorm, attic was bone dry. There's no daylight in the attic, at least when I was in there a month ago.
There is.
there's daylight.
If you look at the chimney towards the east side,
Okay,
you can see right up to the roof, all the way around that chimney, which is about a 4-foot by 3-foot chimney going up to that roof. You can see daylight all the way around. The flashing's completely loose.
I wasn't aware of that, but
I hadn't seen.
There's black mold all over that building. That's
I
what
mean,
I'm concerned about, and that's horsehair plaster, where it's still on the walls. And of course, with no conditioning in that building, summer or winter,
Right.
that just sucks up moisture, 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 and the mold problem gets worse and worse and worse. There's, we
I
gotta
think
make a
you've been
decision. Either we do something with
I
that
agree with
building or
you.
we don't. And,
Last time I was there.
You know,
Phil,
we
I
have
didn't
this
see
going in
that.
the back,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
we have this going in the back lot back here.
Right.
You know, and money's gonna get awfully tight here in the next couple of years.
I think it's a legitimate concern.
Where are this facade, they're knocking it down? I saw they were in there cleaning weeds and stuff up. They're knocking the barn,
There, the gable
end,
end is beginning to lean a bit.
and
It has for
they're
some
knocking
time.
it down.
They're going to take it down piece by piece so that lean doesn't pull down the entire
The
barn.
whole wall.
Yeah,
So how much, the whole gable's coming down?
yeah, it's like 2,100, Jack, $2,700, $2,100.
What are they gonna do with it? Who's doing what with the stones?
Who's
The-
taking them down?
The stones they're taking down, where are they going?
They're probably going to remain in place. We haven't discussed having them removed, so
Just lay them on the
we'll take them
ground?
down and they stay there.
They stay on the ground?
Yeah.
Cause that'll cost more to clean up later, as the weeds grow up through them, and it costs more to deal with that later again.
Yeah, the grass was cut 3 times this year so far.
But
Literally.
as you lay stone on the ground, unless you're
Yeah.
gonna hard stack it,
Right.
edge to edge, the weeds are gonna come up through it and everything else.
But I think, like,
And then it costs more to clean that up later.
I think the concern is a good concern.
I'm very concerned about, are we gonna spend money there and take care of it? Because if we're not, this is huge back here.
Yes, it is.
This is huge, this bill that's coming back here.
You're right.
And I don't wanna go after the residents for taxes, and this stuff doesn't get done. That's a concern right now.
That's fair.
Because we're not through this, we don't know what the extras are gonna be back here.
That's fair.
And, you know, to keep throwing money at, you know, at a property like that, to me, I think it deserves some caution. We've been lucky the last couple of years, the budgets have been well here, we didn't have to sit and cut paper clips, we were able to get things done. But there's a lot coming at us here now.
And quite frankly, this wasn't what any of us that was on the board voted for when we voted to purchase the property thought was gonna happen with that property, because there was a lot more that was explained or said or promised, however you wanna say it. It isn't what we see right now, I know that.
I mean, the land has its value and can never be sold, is my understanding. Has to remain in the township as open space. And right aside of the rail trail, I mean, there's a great value to that.
Yeah.
But to not keep throwing, we really haven't done anything in that building. And as you don't keep doing anything, the way the building's constructed, the horsehair plaster and everything else, I mean, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long till it's just completely rotted through.
I'd be glad to go in with you again, because I don't have the eye that you two have. You've been in the building trades for
Yeah,
years. I
there's
certainly
mold there.
haven't.
There's all the mold you want.
I can understand, and I could support, if George and Martha Washington lived there, I could support that. I don't see any historical significance to it. I haven't seen any documentation or proof that says that. The Mickley name has been thrown around this township an awful lot. You know, we were sold a bill of goods on the northern tier with that farm also, and came to find out that there was no historical significance to that property either. Thank God we didn't go through with it. In my professional opinion, I've been in the building trades for an awfully long time. I know the cost of things. The cost is prohibitive. We don't have the means, we don't have, and accountability. If we're gonna hold our citizens and our businesses accountable, we have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to be stewards of the law. That property is beyond help, in my professional opinion and personal opinion. I can't justify spending another dime on that property to even winterize it or weatherize it, because I don't see an outcome, and I don't see an end run for that building. We are not bound by anything, my understanding, with whatever grants or however this property was purchased. That property could be leveled and buried. We'll have open green space, because that's what everybody's all about. Then it basically takes our liability away. And it's not gonna cost us anything more after the demolition or excavation is done. But if somebody has a compelling argument and can justify a reason why that building should continue to stand, and that summer kitchen. Now, the summer kitchen's a very small structure. It's possible that that could be restored, that has some historical significance, because it's much older building, in my opinion. The barn is beyond. You're not gonna save the barn. If you have to go in and start reclamating this stonework, you're never putting that stonework back up, unless you have a lot of money. And I cannot justify spending another penny on that property, continuing to insure that property, continuing to put our people in harm's way, be it citizens, first responders, whoever. And I didn't even feel comfortable once I went in there, being in there, because I know what that stuff can do to you in a very short period of time. So I don't support anything moving forward. I don't support another dollar of appropriations being put into that. I think we need to look at it. I think code needs to look at it, write a report. We need to sit down, disseminate that report, and make a decision moving forward.
Shall we go in together again and look at that? Would you like me to?
I will not personally
You
go
don't
in
wanna
just
go in?
because of the health hazard. I don't feel comfortable going in there anymore. I've seen
Okay.
enough.
We'll get somebody to look at the property.
I would go in with you, but I'm gonna
Okay.
caution you to wear a mask
All right,
with what I saw in there.
okay.
I'd like to go in too with,
No, anybody's,
yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna caution you, you should at least
Okay.
have some type of mask on with the mold in there.
All right,
That's all I got.
I think every commissioner candidate, every mayor candidate that we interviewed suggested how important open space and historical preservation is. Last time I was in there, I thought the building had decent bones. If the soffit's not taken care of, it is gonna be a liability where water is gonna get in and degrade it. But the same thing was said about the grist mill on Mickley Road. And that's a gem, and I think everybody would agree that's a gem. And it was noble for Executive Harrickle and the volunteers to save that. And I'd like to see a hard look at this.
But the effort was made to save those. I agree.
Yes.
The
Well,
grist mill
you-
is a gem, and so is,
You can
So is
honestly, it was
the
a
home across the
political
street.
football for many years during the folks on the board. And the feasibility study, the purpose of that was to get a feasibility study in place, to go after grants, to do the incremental improvements. And that's,
But that didn't work out so well. We paid a gentleman thousands of dollars and we got no
yeah,
feasibility
and that's
study.
what we're going
And we
after.
still never got accountability. Let's be honest, I didn't wanna go there. This is more about vanity and legacy than it is about
No, it isn't,
preserving.
sir.
That's my opinion.
You're entitled to
You
the
know, prior
opinion.
administration purchased this property unbeknownst to the board, basically. You know, and I have no bridges to burn there. The point is, we own it. We gotta be stewards for it. We have to do the right thing. That's all I'm calling us out on.
There was a resolution passed for going after a county grant and after a DCNR grant.
You know what, resolutions are great, grants are great, if you can get them.
Yeah, we did.
It's not like, you know, anyone owes Whitehall anything. I don't see anybody moving forward. I gave the last 15 months for something to take place here, and no action's been taken place other than police actions.
okay, I hear you.
I just have one small thing, just thanking Lieutenant Bueller for his nice presentation to the community for the Project Lifesaver. Hopefully there'll be more to come and it becomes a successful program for you guys. That's all I have.
yeah. Mayor Mike, if we could, is it possible to get a list of the officers at all the playgrounds?
Yeah,
Somehow we stopped doing that the last couple of years. And we used to get that every year. Who the officers are at the playgrounds and the other organizations, like the senior group that meets and things like that.
we can do that. I didn't know that you were getting those things in the past.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since it stopped, because I
Okay.
guess there was so much change and some of them didn't even have a full list of officers anymore. But if we could get together what we have on that, so we kinda know where.
Do you want to include things like the Rotary Club and Lions Club and that stuff also,
No,
or
just-
just township-related things?
Things like playgrounds, things that are using
Okay,
those types of facilities where we're contributing public Whitehall dollars to them every year.
okay,
That's what I'm interested in, that if we're putting Whitehall dollars into an organization to help them pay utility bill or this or that or anything else, a list of those officers.
Okay.
Of those types of facilities, that's all I have.
okay.
Nothing? Commissioner Warren?
Three things, I may forget one of them. The first one was, I saw in the police report, or maybe it was the mayor's report about submitting the final paperwork for the gaming grant that we got for the police car,
Right,
and it was requesting $59,000. The grant that we were awarded was $62,500. I'm wondering if there's any line items we can tack on to that, so we don't let the extra money go away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the county would support that if we say, hey, we're gonna invest in 2 radios or something like that.
It was what, 60?
62,500 is what I think I wrote the grant for, and they approved. The other item, sinkholes came up tonight on Church Street between Holy Trinity Rectory and Egypt Reformed Church. There's used to be a safety cone there. That safety cone's no longer there. It's about 8 feet down. And there is a wash, and it might be it's probably a PennDOT road, but I think it's probably out of sight, out of mind, or it's forgotten about, so, you know, maybe we can, if it's PennDOT's responsibility, contact them, but it's in line with the storm inlets, but it's down pretty deep right now.
Okay.
And I told you I would forget the third item. Yeah, those are the two biggies.
Okay.
Tonight we just rejected the waiver for the sidewalk in front of Pier 1. I think this would be a perfect time to exercise that authority and ask the development going on in McDonald's to complete their 75 feet of sidewalk. I mean, there's major renovations going on there. It looks like almost a new building. I think if we're gonna ask one property owner, we should ask the second one down to complete their segment.
First Commonwealth.
First Commonwealth. I mean, I don't know if that's appropriate, but
It would depend on how the project, back when McDonald's or whatever went in there first was originally approved. If sidewalks were deferred at that time, then we can require them at any time.
I thought, now this is me being on the board for a couple weeks now.
Sure.
We were always told that no matter what, we defer it. Doesn't mean that we can't bring it up
Right.
within the next
No,
week.
that's correct.
So,
Yes, if it was deferred when the development of that property was approved, then we can require it at any time. If it was waived,
I
That's-
don't recall us ever waiving anything.
I would hope not.
We defer everything,
Yes.
but I don't remember
Yeah.
waiving.
we'd have to look back at that
any side.
approval.
Okay.
Lee?
Oh, she would know.
She's been around for more than a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think, I guess I'm kind of confused about terminology, because the ordinance used to say waiver, but it's still in the ordinance said, even though a waiver is granted at any time, that they could still require it. We only changed the language to deferral because I guess that's more appropriate for what we do. But probably at the time the original McDonald's land development plan was approved, it was still a waiver. And quite honestly, we didn't have separate actions at that time. It was all what was shown on the land development plan. It wasn't a separate ordinance. Yeah, it was all part of what was shown on the original plan. But even so, even when we did do them, we did call them waivers for a long time because that's what the codified ordinances called it. But we changed the term to deferral. But even then, in the ordinance, when it said waiver, it still said, until such time as deemed necessary by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay,
It always had that back
right.
escape clause.
So it's called a waiver, but it was essentially a deferral.
Yeah, and that's why we changed it to deferral. But probably most likely, I mean, we can pull up those plans. It wasn't a separate action at that time. It's only in the relatively recent past that they are separate actions.
and ideally, if something is proposed there, that it would be off the curb, because we still have this problem of people walking adjacent to flying cars, and putting a sidewalk against the curb is only a landing spot for the snow.
That's all you got?
That's it, thank you.
I don't have anything tonight, other than I would like to go into an executive session about possible legal action after the meeting is over. Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
I'll be brief. We've spoken of some of the things that I was going to mention, but this week we'll be meeting with the architects to review the furnishing requirements in the building. They're moving forward on the project, and you may have seen holes around the building. They came in to do evaluations throughout the entire property. We're also, Phil, you raised another issue that was important on last Monday, and that had to do with the access to Lehigh Street. And I have met again with Mr. Attia, who controls the property, and he's made it clear that he's very, very willing to do whatever we want him to do, anything we want to do in the way of acquiring land to get us over to Lehigh Street. So we're working on that project at this point too.
Sooner we can get that road in, the better.
I agree.
That type of construction going on.
And I think it was good that you raised that issue last week,
Sooner the better.
so, okay.
Treasurer's report?
We're actively collecting school and per capita taxes right now, and just a reminder to the public that if you want to take advantage of the installment plans, they must be made by August 10th.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
The reason why Trident Farm